Now, Fitch, Moody's, S&P Global, these are household names with regards to rating agencies, even in Africa. The three both control over an estimated 95% of the overall global credit ratings business. According to the United Nations, their subjective biases in the meantime have cost the continent nearly $75 billion. As such, Misheck Mutize, the African Union's lead expert for country support on rating agencies, says Africa needs its own rating agency. He joins us with a greater perspective. Misheck, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, Misheck. You know, Misheck, this call for Africa's own rating agencies has gone on for quite a while. At some point, it was seen as a populist view, but it is becoming a more urgent view here. So talk to us about, you know, even the work that you do at the African Union trying to get us to this point.
No, thank you. Yes, formally in the African Union, this idea has been discussed by the ministers of finance since 2018. So it has made a bit of some progress, because since then, the common position that the Africa Rating Agency should be established has been adopted by the ministers of finance of all the African Union countries. And now they are at a stage where they are developing the legal, the financial, and the structural nature of this institution, obviously taking into account the issues to do with credibility and also a reputation of this institution, which are key, and also the issue of independence, which will give you some credence, and also for investors to pay attention to the ratings that will come out of there.
So let's talk about the framework here, Misheck. I do believe that a framework has been laid down here where we are discussing the future of Africa's very own credit rating agency.
Yes, so the Africa Rating Agency, its main agenda is not to compete directly with the big three, because obviously that's a function of time and will take a little bit of longer time to get to that. So what we are looking at is mainly just to provide an alternative view of the credit situation in Africa. And for that to happen, it was proposed that this institution must be independent from the African Union. So it must be an autonomous entity where in the structure of the union, with independent shareholders outside the union, which will also fund its establishment and the entire operationalization of the idea. But it will still be subscribed to the union, and also that's important to give it some leverage to be able to get solicitation status in its rating that it will be issuing to governments. So the structure is mainly that it will be part of the African Union, but with an autonomous nature to maintain its independence.
Then let's talk about the business case here, because you know, you've spoken about shareholders, you've spoken about autonomy, which also tells me that there has to be some sort of a business case for the agency.
Of course, the business case is very important, because we have to lay it from the beginning that the reason why Africa needs its own rating agency is not because entirely that it's a situation of dissatisfaction from the big three, but also purely a business need that Africa has. So we come from the point of view that in the entire continent, we've got 22 countries that do not have a rating at all from any of the big three. And we've got a bigger chunk of municipalities and corporates that cannot afford the ratings from the big three, because you know, it costs a little bit to maintain the rating, and talk less of getting the initial rating from the big three. So this is a sufficient market that an African rating agency will be able to occupy and generate a sufficient business to sustain itself.
Misheck, you also spoke about credibility, reputation, and independence. I'm very keen to find out from you exactly, how we're going to do that. And the reason I ask is because actually in the past, the big three rating agencies haven't always, come across to be credible and of good reputation. If we think of the 2008 global financial crisis, for instance. And so I am wondering, how the African Union is thinking about matters of reputation and credibility.
Of course, that's one of the key areas that has delayed the implementation of this idea and operationalization, because there is so much emphasis that we don't need to establish an institution that will not make an impact and that will not fly because of a lack of credibility and a lack of reputation. So credibility is part of one of the key elements that were considered to come up with the structure that I've just highlighted, that this institution should be outside the African Union. Otherwise, there will be conflict of interest and it won't be able to perform its function successfully. So credibility will obviously be the main focus from the onset, ensuring that member states or countries that the rating agency will be rating are not a key component of the process of establishing and setting it up, as well as funding the new rating agency. But with the part of a reputation, obviously that's a function of time. It will be established depending on the comprehensiveness and how detailed and how thorough the reports that it will be issuing of credit worthiness will be received by the investors who will be the main consumers of the output of the work of the proposed rating agency. So that's what we think could be the way forward. That of course reputation will not be as we might expect it from the beginning, but with time, obviously investors will pay attention to what the rating agency will say.
And then let's talk timelines, Misheck. Do we know, when we can start to see an actual operationalization of the credit rating agency?
Yes, I think it's pretty much very close, because at this moment in time, the AU have just signed a memorandum of understanding with another African-based rating agency to assist in the technical support of setting up the agency. And also we have secured some shareholding who are willing to inject some seed capital into the proposal. And also we are waiting for the approvals from the ministers of finance, who will be sitting in a few weeks' time to approve the next stage of operationalizing the idea. But the fact is there is so much appetite to implement this idea. I'm sure if you follow the political unfoldings on the continent, you will know that there is a political will to go this route as part of the long-term solution of solving the problems that the continent has been having with the international rating agencies.
Wonderful, Misheck. We look forward to keeping the engagement going until we see the launch of this organization. Thank you for your time today. That was the African Union's lead expert for country support on rating agencies, Misheck Mutize.